theatre in the West End of
It's
London.
not much about size, Carol, but yes.
Absolutely right. Stuart, thank you so, so much.
Pleasure.
Now, as I promised you, we have one last treat in store for you. And now we've got the English National Opera Chorus and Brass performing O Come All Ye Faithful. So for the last time, Mark Biggins, choral master, please take it away. You're getting a real rising round of applause from the studio as well, Jack. Amazing stuff. It's been such good fun here this morning. It was. I'd like to say it was all my own work, but it's done.
I'd like to think you, like the rest of us, Carol, were just gently singing along in the background there. What a lovely way to start the day.
Yes. Isn't it? Doesn't it make you want to take up singing lessons, though? To be able to sing like that, and such a beautiful, traditional Christmas carol. Doesn't get much better.
It's never too late, Carol. Next year we'll have you there. Thank you very much for this morning. We look forward to the rest of Carol's carol over the next few days and weeks ahead.
My aim is to get Carol singing.
Carol's very good at what she does well, but she's aware, as she said in the past, of her limitations, like the rest of us.
I don't believe it.
I hope you've enjoyed that today. Morning Live is up next. We'll be back same time tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
We were with Carol, we were singing away with that. It was lovely, very festive.
Yeah. Well, listen, welcome to Morning Live, where today we're asking, should we or shouldn't we be visiting friends and family this Christmas? And if, like many, you're still confused, Dr. Zand is here with the answers we all need.
And she's the woman who taught celebrities and athletes like Dame Kelly Holmes how to be successful even when they're failing. Podcaster and author Elizabeth Day is here to give us the skills we need to deal with any failures this festive season.
Plus, Ranveer was the most recent celebrity to leave Strictly last night, and as we head to the final, we'll be joined by Nicola Adams and professional dancer Katia Jones, who'll be involved in a different way. Hello, welcome to Morning Live, where today the Brexit update is, there is no update yet. But as the talks continue, we'll be asking Dr. Zand whether no deal could affect medical supplies.
Also coming up, as we prepare to get our cinnamon and star anise ready for the seasonal mulled wine, gardening expert Mark Lane is here to show us how to grow your own festive herbs and spices at home.
And Christmas is fast approaching, but Hanukkah has already started. We'll see how a community in Glasgow will be celebrating very differently than usual this year.
Plus, ahead of Saturday night's Strictly final, Zoe Ball and the team from It Takes Two will be giving us an exclusive look at what to expect as the dancers prepare for the biggest night in the Strictly Come Dancing calendar.
And we have a lovely story about how one woman set out to make a change in the life of a young person leaving care through the help of a brilliant scheme that's already made an incredible difference.
And as we mentioned, Dr. Zand is with us on this Monday morning. Nice to see you, Zand.
Morning.
Yeah. The reason for that morning is maybe something to do with this. Now, every week, Rab Wilding helps us to avoid the latest scams. And one he warned about just the other day is where you get an email supposedly from a parcel company like DVD claiming you've missed a delivery. The scammers behind it say you'll need to pay to get your package. Suzanne, how was your weekend?
I tell you what, I tried to be a good citizen and I talked about this online and said, you know, I got scammed. And if you do that, a lot of people reply and go, yeah, I didn't get done by that one. Oh, I knew about that. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. But yeah, I gave them everything.
You did own it. That's good. You weren't embarrassed about it.
I was very embarrassed, and I'm more embarrassed now, obviously.
Did you lose any money?
I didn't lose any money because I phoned the bank instantly. So as I typed in, I was typing in my mother's maiden name and went, why do they want this? And at that point, but I'd already given them all my credit card details and everything. And so I phoned the bank and cancelled the card, which meant my Christmas shopping, already late, is now completely stuffed. So.
But you know, it's easily done, isn't it? It's easily done. Mark, have you ever fallen victim?
Thankfully, no, but I always hover over that email address just to make sure it's not coming from someone a little bit tricky.
Yeah. Mark, spend the next few minutes telling Zand how you didn't get scammed.
But it is, I always thought these
Let it go, Zand, let it go. Let it go. We're sorry.
Well, Zand and Mark are sticking around to answer your non-scam related questions, so please do keep those and your comments coming in to us in the usual ways on your screen now. First up, Christmas is only 11 days away, but lots of us are still struggling with a big decision. Should we see our loved ones, and is it actually safe to do so?
To help make things a bit clearer, I popped round to Dr. Zand's house. Now, we're both in tier 2, but the rules around working conditions allowed me to go over. Using all the latest scientific evidence in a real-world setting, here are some of the things we can all do to stay safe this Christmas. Hasn't got a doorbell. Give him a ring.
Mate, are you here?
I'm here.
Hang on.
Hey!
Merry Christmas!
Happy Christmas!
Have you touched the door? You didn't try knocking?
No, I didn't know what to do. I just felt like calling you. So did I do the right thing?
You did the right thing because the door could be contaminated. We don't know who's touched it. And if I had a doorbell, that could be contaminated as well.
Right.
So come on in, but
Oh.
keep 2 meters apart.
2 meters apart. Finally invites me in. Yes, things are going to be very different this year, whether it's your home or someone else's. New basics include a 20-second hand wash before touching anything, and each person should have their own towel. This towel then?
That one is freshly laundered just for you. It's like being in a luxury hotel.
Apart from it being a bit chillier.
Okay, so let me tell you how I've set things up. First of all, the garden door is open, so it's cold in here. It's quite well ventilated. We just want as much airflow as we can possibly get. So windows and doors open whenever you can manage. You know, we're used to doing that in offices, public spaces, and you have to treat your home as one of those places now. Open the windows.
What about crackers?
Okay, so I reckon that if I got some kitchen tongs and you had only got one set, so you could get some like salad grabbers or a bit of string or some tape.
Why don't we just pull our own crackers this year?
And that's a good idea. Because then we both win.
3, 2, 1.
Yes!
I can
got
never
it!
get crackers. This is great. But hang on. On a serious note, does it matter how long I stay for Christmas Day?
Yes. Yes, it does. You know that thing? If you're on a diet and you have a piece of chocolate cake, and you're like, well, now I've blown it. Now I might as well just order a curry and 2 pizzas. And people, I think that with coronavirus, every single thing that we do is increasing the risk of spreading the virus around. So the more you can attack individual risks, the better. So staying in the house for a long time definitely increases the risk. So yeah, don't stay too long.
Okay, enough chit chat. Let's get to the main event.
Suzanne, there's lots to consider around the kitchen area this Christmas. Like what?
Normally it would be a free-for-all, right? I take all this food that I prepared, I put it all on the table, we pass it all around, everyone coughing on it, sharing cutlery, all this, right, the normal family thing. So instead, since it's you and me, I would wash my hands, and then I would serve us a couple of plates, and then you'd collect your plate and I'd collect my plate.
Okay.
That, to me, reduces the risk.
Do we need separate serving spoons?
If you have unlimited spoons, then I suppose the lowest risk thing to do is everyone gets their own serving spoon and goes along, but I don't have that many spoons. If you've washed your hands, then it is safe to touch a spoon, and then I can use the same spoon. So, yeah.
That looks delicious, thank you very much.
It's a high praise from Celebrity MasterChef semi-finalist.
Still no to talk about it too much.
What about if you've got a big family? Because the social distancing is going to be really difficult.
It's really tough. If you have lots of vulnerable family members, you should probably not all be together in a small room. Like, I hate to say that to you, but
You know that's what I'm doing this year because Dad's vulnerable. We're talking about being outside. So if you do have vulnerable family members, are we saying just don't do it this Christmas?
everyone's got to judge that for themselves. You don't want someone who's older, a bit more frail, has got lung problems to spend all day in the freezing cold. So you've got this juggling act. If you're nearby and it's really important to see them, which I think it is for lots of families, then have them outdoors, keep everyone warm, and keep the visit quite short.
It's exactly what we're doing. They're coming over for an hour for Christmas dinner outside. We've got 3 heaters, a load of tarpaulin, job done, loads of ventilation.
That's really nice.
And I got you some gifts. How's that going to work this Christmas?
The most important thing here is to maintain distance and think about hand washing. So that's not too good. I mean, I want the gifts. Basically, I want the
You're
gifts.
excited about that one, aren't you?
It's quite large. It's quite large, but surprisingly well wrapped.
Kim did that.
If Christmas is at your place, then you should be ready to do some extra cleaning.
What about if I used the bathroom or I wanted to put things away for you? What about handles and cleanliness like that?
Massively important. Touching stuff around the house. I've sent something to your phone. Check it out.
People are going to be getting up and down, going to the bathroom, using the sink, using the toilet.
Lots of businesses turn to Delia Cannings for cleaning tips.
As the house owner, it would be my duty to nip in there discreetly to do a quick contact point clean. People reach for the bleach and bleach everything and they think that's the answer, and it isn't. In pandemic circumstances, we should always have a 2-stage process, which is clean and disinfect. Cleaning removes the soil and disinfecting reduces the numbers of potentially dangerous pathogenic organisms.
Thanks for the mince pies.
Delicious. I like it when everyone gets their own plate of mince pies and no one can have mine.
But as you round off the day in front of the telly, there's one more thing to remember for COVID Christmas.
What are you doing?
I'm looking at what Delia's got to say about remote controls.
Everybody's going to want the remote control. A simple little tip that I would give is place the remote control inside a little sandwich bag, which means you're protecting it. You can still use it, but those little buttons are not going to become so contaminated. And then when the visitors leave, get the bag off, put it in the bin.
Boy Scout Zand has already got his remote in a sandwich bag. That's because this Christmas is all about being prepared, but it doesn't mean it can't still be fun.
No, and I know that was a bit of a mock-up, but we did have fun, despite the fact that we had to social distance and everything else. It was great, wasn't it?
It was lovely, but it didn't feel normal, did it?
No,
It didn't feel like a normal
We
Christmas.
don't want to be Grinch at Christmas either, but we saw in America...
Well, I
that-
do.
Maybe you need to be. But we saw in America, didn't we, the sort of raises in cases after Thanksgiving. Are we going the same way with Christmas this year?
It would be amazing if we would. We know that this virus spreads when people get together, and people are planning to get together in different ways over Christmas, and the rules allow it. So yeah, it would be surprising if numbers didn't go up after Christmas, which will be sad because that will be very serious for some people. So I think if you can possibly avoid it, do.
Yeah.
I mean, in London, cases are going up. In 2/3 of local authorities in England, the numbers are going up, particularly Kent, Essex, the southwest. Yeah, so it's a concern.
And you're not one to preach, and I know that you want people just to take responsibility, because a lot of people are talking about, oh, we can have 3 households at Christmas. But then there's a ... to sort of say, but only do that if it's safe to do so.
I think that's right. I mean, within the tiers, how you behave is very important. And everyone can slightly look at their own risk. If you're inviting people to your house, staying within the rules, it's very different if you're inviting someone who's young, well, thin. We know that women have a lower risk. That's different to inviting someone who's, an older man who's a bit overweight, who's got some pre-existing health conditions. So everyone needs to think about their vulnerabilities.
I mean, England's 3-tier system is due to be reviewed, isn't it, on Wednesday?
Yes.
We talked a little bit about our rates there. So, I mean, what on earth?
The numbers are going up, and in Wales they're going up. Scotland's doing okay, but it's not looking good in lots of places. Now I know there are lots of businesses who are just terrified of losing this pre-Christmas period. There are other people who are terrified of more COVID going around. So I don't know what they're going to do, but we do know that the decisions will be based on intensive care beds, which are in short supply in some regions, and on numbers going up. So I'm not, I don't know, optimistic or pessimistic, but we may well see changes, yeah.
No deal on Brexit at the moment. A lot of people asking about the effects a no deal could have on a shortage of medicine.
So this has been a concern all year, really. And there are, I guess there's sort of 2 ways of looking at it. On the one hand, ministers and NHS suppliers have not said, we guarantee there will be no problems. They have not made a promise there will not be shortages. On the other hand, the pharmaceutical sort of supply industry has said they're pretty confident there are no shortages at the moment, but do be prepared to possibly switch brands, switch generics, things like that. So there may be some bumps in the road. As someone who takes medicines every day, I find this pretty terrifying, but I'm not too worried about it at the moment. It's so important they can't afford to get it wrong.
Well, listen, we've had loads of questions coming in for you already.
I'm ready.
Among them are these. So this is Barbara. She's asking, how long after someone has had COVID are they still infectious?
That's a great question. So there's a lot of data about this, but I think the most important thing to understand is that the very, very vast majority of people, once they are symptom-free, at the end of 2 weeks after they got their symptoms or got their positive test, 2 weeks is pretty much the cut-off. There are some people where you can find virus in them, but basically 2 weeks is the number to work from.
Okay. Pam has a question. 8 years ago, she had a total removal of her spleen and pancreas. Is she therefore in a group that should avoid the vaccine?
I think this has been really confusing for people. We talked about it last week, and I think there's still a lot of confusion. So people who are immunosuppressed because they've had maybe a transplant or someone just had their spleen removed, their immune system isn't working so well. We know that vaccine uptake in general is lower in those groups, and it's really important they have vaccines. Now, the manufacturer of the COVID vaccine has said it may not work as well, and then we're still waiting for more data, but it does not mean that she shouldn't have the vaccine. So speak to your doctor, let them know. But yeah, she is eligible for the vaccine and should probably have it.
Thanks for clearing that up, because you're right, we did have a lot of questions about that last week too. We don't always get to them, do we? So well played. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Well, 2020 has felt like one big failure for many of us, but there's good news because our next guest says we shouldn't be afraid of failing as it's good for us.
Podcaster and author Elizabeth Day is here with a guide on what to do when life goes wrong. Thank you for joining us on Morning Live this morning, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me.
We've been a bit down on 2020 on the show so far this morning, and actually all year. How can we come out of this year better and stronger for it?
I know I saw that internet meme a while back which said anyone who was asked at a job interview in 2015 where they saw themselves in 5 years' time would have got that answer wrong. I think it's been such a tough year for all of us, but I do think that there are amazing things that we've been able to take from this year of global failure. One is the importance of community, of checking in on our neighbours, of having the advantage of modern technology, which enables me to speak to you today whilst keeping safe and socially distanced. I think we've all been taught the value of human resilience. I think we've all realised that we can put up with so much more than we thought we could, and those things will last us so well in the years to come.
Is it really possible to fail successfully?
That is a great question, and I think yes is the short answer. Now, that doesn't mean that every failure is easily assimilated. Some failures, no doubt, are much harder than others to live with, and it also doesn't mean that I'm sitting here saying everyone must fail the same way. Some people want to live quietly with their failures and just stew in their own sadness, and I get that and I understand it, but you can actually learn from failure, and that for me is the way of failing successfully. Failure just is, it's a fact of life, it's inevitable. As much as we might try and avoid it, as much as we don't want that to be the case, it is the case. And actually the best thing that we can do is realise that it's a fact of life and that we're in charge of our emotional response to it. So for me, as long as you learn something from failure, and what you learn might be as simple as, I'm not going to try to play tennis again because I'm rubbish at it. But as long as you learn and you can take that experience and that wisdom into the next thing that you do, then that for me is a form of success.
In your book, you talk about the key principles of failure that can help us. I think you just mentioned one there about failure just is. Another key one, I think, is that you say that vulnerability is the ultimate act of strength. And I feel like there's been a lot of people who've been vulnerable in 2020.
I think that's such a good point, Gavin. I think we've all realised that we have to embrace our vulnerabilities because they are what make us human. That, for me, is the source of our greatest strength and connection. And Philosophy, the book, has come out of a podcast called How to Fail, where I ask people to discuss 3 failures in their life. And what I've realised is not only does that make me more likely to connect with someone on a much more profound and meaningful level, but when guests come on and they are really open about the times that things have gone wrong, that is something that is incredibly hopeful and moving for a listener as well. And so it's just really brought home to me that actually when we're open about our imperfections, when we're open about our vulnerabilities, when we're open about our failures, that's what helps us connect. It's not posting a picture perfect image on social media. It's not pretending that we've got it all nailed and that everything is going according to plan. It's actually saying, no, this went wrong for me, and perhaps you have some experience too that can help me through. And that for me is a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, look, Christmas is coming up, and we always put pressure on ourselves, don't we, to have like the perfect Christmas. But especially this year, I think, you know, we're putting more pressure on ourselves than ever. How do we cope with that festive failure? Because it's never ever how we imagine it to be anyway.
Oh, you're so right, Kim. And I think especially this year, as you say, Christmas has become very meaningful for us because we haven't been able to see our loved ones, many of us, for many months. But I would say it is just another day. And whilst we can hope for it to be a time of celebration, we mustn't put pressure on ourselves to exceed our expectations to some massive level. So for me, you know, I had a lockdown birthday, and I normally love my birthday. And actually this birthday, I came to it with 0 expectation because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do all the things that I normally do. And as a result, it turned out to be really wonderful in a completely different way. And that's because I hadn't over expected. So I think that that's my key piece of advice for Christmas, is that let's just completely accept the fact that it's not going to be the Christmas that we most dream of and desire. And I bet you when that day comes along, there'll be some quiet moment that you wouldn't otherwise have noticed that will make it an incredibly meaningful day. But basically, just don't put pressure on yourself.
That's great advice, and it actually echoes what Dr. Zan's been saying this morning to Elizabeth. That's fascinating. Thank you so much for joining this morning. Have a great Christmas.
Thank you so much. You too, happy Christmas.
Lower expectations for Christmas, and you have a great day.
And Philosophy, a handbook for when things go wrong, is out now.
It's great, that is. And by the way, the podcast that she talks about at the end of all the failure chat, it turns out to be real positive at the end. It's really, really good.
Great advice.
Right, our next story is about a heartwarming success and shows what can happen when we give a helping hand to someone who needs it.
For the 10,000 young people who leave foster care in England each year, many struggle to access higher education or find a job. But we're about to meet 19-year-old Ruby, who was helped to follow her dreams of studying at uni by ex-nurse Bindi.
Both of their lives have been transformed thanks to a scheme that pairs young care leavers with older volunteers, who they call Grand Mentors. Here's why Ruby and Bindi wanted to get involved.
The idea of mentoring came about because Alec, my husband, actually got an email about this wonderful new grant mentoring scheme. And I learnt a lot through becoming a mum and bringing up teenagers, and felt that I had quite a bit to offer. At the beginning, I didn't really know anything about Ruby's background, except that she was still in care at that point.
My mum left me when I was 6 months old, so that was quite hard, and my dad, he was around, but he was in and out of my life, so it's definitely been a struggle.
At the start, I met Ruby every week, and we would meet for a coffee, and then it got onto a coffee and a cake, and we enjoyed that.
The more we met, the more we eased into it.
I heard more and more about Ruby's life. I shared little bits about mine. I knew that her dream was to go to university, but she had lots of friends around her and other people around her saying, oh, but you know, students get into debt and you should get yourself a job, and all the sort of negativity. And I just listened to her and I said, well, if you want to do it, you can do it.
I feel like she's given me confidence that I need. And now I'm studying a BA Honours in social work, and I've only been here 4 months, but I've really enjoyed it.
I'm very proud to know Ruby. She has just gone through the most amazing things. She got to the university she wanted to go to. I think she has to keep pinching herself to believe that she's really there.
I didn't have a role model growing up. Bindi's brought a lot to my life. She's taught me you can do anything you put your mind to, and I know graduation is another 2 years yet, but I hope she's there.
Ruby now is somebody who just keeps on amazing me in what she's able to do. It takes a village to raise a child, and I just like being part of Ruby's village, and she's part of my village too.
What a wonderful analogy that is. And I'm delighted to say that Ruby and Bindi join us on Morning Live. Good morning.
Good morning.
I like that, Ruby. It looked like you were pretending to study hard there at university. How's it going at the moment?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been different due to COVID, but I think I've managed reasonably well.
Yeah, listen, Bindi, I mean, this Grand Mentor scheme looks amazing, and it has changed your life as well as Ruby's. Would you have any advice for those that may be thinking about doing the same thing?
I think if you've got some spare capacity and you feel you've got something to give, then just go for it. It's been such a brilliant exercise, and it started slowly, but we're great friends now.
Yeah, you're great friends, but I know, Ruby, you were a little bit nervous about being on live telly this morning, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that you had a bit of a message for Bindi that you probably didn't want to do live on telly. But Bindi, Ruby did jot down a few words to say thank you. So here she is in her own words.
Without your care and support, I would definitely have not made it this far in life. You believed in me when I found it hard to believe in myself. You have made me see life in a different way. I would truly be lost without such an amazing person like you in my life. You have truly become like family to me. I am truly thankful for everything that you have done for me and continue to do for me.
Ah, it's lovely. Bindi, how do you feel hearing that from Ruby?
Well, I think that's amazing. I just think she's such a delight, and I saw that little nugget of wonderfulness, and I saw her passion to go forward, and that's just really what I helped her to do.
I know it's a couple of years to graduation, Ruby, but we all know that Bindi will be there by your side, and we wish you both the very best of luck. And thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, still to come, we'll be talking to the couple that made Strictly history for not one, but two reasons. Cathy Jones and Nicola Adams will be here in about 10 minutes. And here's a little reminder of why we love them.
We've missed them on the show, haven't we? But they will be back on Saturday night. More of that a bit later on. But Mark Lane is here now with tips on how we can all spice up our Christmas by growing our own herbs. Nice to see you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
It's feeling Christmassy as always when you're in the studio.
Exactly.
So there's so many herbs and spices that sort of instantly remind us of Christmas, aren't there?
There are. So things like peppermint and sage, sage and onion stuffing, rosemary for on your potatoes, but you can grow your own on a windowsill with no problem at all.
How do you do that?
And it's simple. Well, I've got a very sort of elaborate propagator here.
Have you got a propagator on your windowsill?
I've got loads of them, yeah.
But in essence, I mean, if you look at it, what does this look like? It looks like a margarine tub. So you can easily do it with margarine tub and some cling film over the top. Well, these come in little plastic things like this, and you just fill it up with compost and with grit. You need really good gritty soil because they're all herbs, mainly Mediterranean herbs, love really good free draining soil. So things like the mint, the basil and the oregano. And then all you would do is you would take your seed, sprinkle it over the top, keep that soil moist, and then put your top onto the top like so. And then, as I say, you could do that with cling film, or you could do it in a propagator like this, and it is as simple as that. And then as soon as you start seeing some tiny little shoots appear, you take off the plastic covering, and then that's it. They will start to grow, and then you'll have your own herbs on your windowsill.
And you don't have to do anything after that?
No, you just keep cutting them. Simple.
That's actually really interesting as well, because a lot of people put off if they think, well, I've not got a garden, but you can actually grow them on your windowsill.
Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, this is around about sort of £30 to actually buy this, but this is actually a heated one, so that actually aids the growth of the seedlings really, really quickly. But you don't need that. You don't need that at all.
So things like ginger and turmeric are also things that we use loads at this time of year. Can they be grown as well?
They can. I mean, obviously, we get ginger and we've got turmeric. They're not the most attractive looking things. But what you want to do, if you want to grow these yourself, you want to find ones that have the most of these, which are called their little eyes. And you leave it outside for a little bit because you want these eyes to turn green. Because the whole idea is like when you chipped potatoes, you get little tiny shoots start appearing. And that's all it is. You put it in somewhere bright, they start to get a little bit of seed coming through, and then all you do is cut up your pieces. So with turmeric, for example, you'd only need something like that. And then you just put that into a pot, plant it about 5 to 10 centimetres deep, keep the soil moist, and then up it will come. But you can buy things like turmeric and cardamom trees already as houseplants, and then you can grow them as houseplants yourself. So it's really simple, but this way you can get sort of around about, I don't know, 6 or 7 plants out of one tiny little tuber. Really simple.
That's called a tuber.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really great name.
So turmeric's obviously got health benefits to it. What about other herbs?
Other herbs?
What about other herbs that can help us maybe Christmas Day after we've overindulged in turkey?
Exactly. Well, peppermint is an ideal one, and the easiest thing to do is to make a peppermint tea or even a sage tea. I've got it here, just very, very simple. You just put the leaves into the middle, add your boiling water, let it steep, and you get this wonderful, wonderful drink. Alternatively, you can use something like this. You just open it up, you sort of take a couple of leaves, stick your leaves inside, close it up again, and then that way you can just put it into your cup and just keep stirring it. And it's as simple as that. And if you add something like honey with it as well, it adds a real sort of lovely texture, but also really good for you. And all of these have these wonderful sort of alkaloids and compounds within them. And what that does, that actually helps with like anti-inflammatory problems, it helps with digestion, it helps with colds and flus. That's why herbs have been used for millennia as medicinal plants.
I love peppermint tea. It settles me, really settles me. Oh, finally, what about all the other kind of lovely herbs and spices that make Christmas smell so good?
Yes, well, we got things like wonderful star anise. So star anise comes from China and sort of has this sort of a licoricey sort of taste to it as well.
Good for the mulled wine.
Yeah, very good for mulled wine. Then again, you've obviously got things like cardamom. So we've got wonderful cardamom, which you can go into cookies, it can go into baked goods, and all of these will help because they're also beneficial for you. So as well as tasting wonderful, they're doing your body some really goodness as well.
Happy, healthy Christmas.
Happy, healthy Christmas.
Thanks, Mark. Superb.
I can't wait. Now, as millions of us get our Christmas preparations underway, for many in the Jewish community, 8 days of Hanukkah celebrations have already begun.
But with us all adapting to a new way of life, we visited some families from a Jewish community in Glasgow to find out how they were doing it this year, with some footage filmed before social distancing.
In any normal year, Hanukkah is a time for the Jewish community to come together. Over a period of 8 days each winter, it's celebrated across the UK by around 300,000 people.
Hanukkah to us is a fun festival, a happy festival, delicious foods, the lighting of the menorah, and saying thanks to God for the salvation of our people.
It's a get-together, a gathering of the clan.
This year may be a little different, but it will still be a special time for the Jewish community in Glasgow.
In Glasgow, they say it's around 4,000 Jews. One thing I've learned over here is that in a smaller community, everyone matters, and I mean everyone.
Hanukkah is known as the annual festival of lights, when the community comes together to celebrate age-old Jewish traditions.
At the window of every Jewish home, we would light the menorah. Each night for 8 nights, we would add a candle until the 8th day we'll have 8 candles. And that is the main way of celebrating Hanukkah.
The Rosenberg family is getting ready to celebrate at home in Clarkston.
Growing up in Glasgow has been amazing as far as the Jewish community goes, and it's just a lovely little community.
Jewish holidays are all about having the family together. 20 people around your table, obviously this time we've not been able to do that. It's been difficult not being able to see our families. We won't get to celebrate with them this year.
Sora Jacobs is preparing for a much quieter festival this year.
Just for my husband and myself, celebrating, it's been a really hard year. We always have visitors. We're blessed with 6 children, 20 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. This is a very usual food that we eat on Hanukkah. They are made usually with potato, onion, egg, and they are fried in oil. The miracle was that 1 bottle of oil, which was enough to last for 1 day, actually lasted for 8. So that is how we have our food with oil to remember this amazing miracle.
Everyone's going to get 4 coins. Sit down.
Hanukkah is a special time for children, when the family comes together to spin the dreidel, a traditional game.
So a dreidel is a spinning top. It's got 4 Hebrew letters on it. The whole sentence reads, "And a great miracle happened there." We play with chocolate coins. Family the winner!
Even though Suzanne and her wider family can't gather together, they can at least see each other on a video call.
Hi! Isn't this lovely to be together for Hanukkah? It's been amazing to be able to zoom in with family and friends, especially as we can't see them. I feel like this year's gone really fast, but Hanukkah is a time where you look forward to hopefully a better 2021.
By the last night of the festival, all the candles on the menorah will have been lit.
The little candle symbolizes what it is, light in the darkness. Whether it's national difficult times or personal difficult times, and that is the whole message of Hanukkah. always found a way to celebrate Hanukkah, and this year will be no different.
I'm so glad people are still finding ways to celebrate, aren't
Yeah,
you?
it is all a bit different, isn't it? We're going to try our best, that's for sure. There's even more reason to celebrate now because the countdown to the Strictly final is on, and one couple will be crowned winners of the Glitter Ball this weekend.
But if you can't wait until then to get your fix, you can always rely on our buddies at It Takes Two. And ahead of tonight's show, we've got Zoe Ball to give us the inside scoop on what's coming up.
Good morning, Kim and Geth. It's all going on up at It Takes Two for our final week. The band's back together. 3 former winners dropped in to talk all things Strictly. Harry Judd, Stacey Dooley and reigning champion Kelvin Fletcher will be here. All week we'll be talking to the finalists ahead of their grand finale performances this weekend. And Ricky Gill will be giving us a preview of all things show dance related, our favourite. Geth, you'll be catching up with all the celebs who've been knocked out so far. And if that's not enough, we've got some festive music from the wonderful Rick Astley. That is all from 6:30 tonight on BBC Two.
I wondered what I was doing this week. It's good to know. Zoe's given me the brief directly. Thank you. I can see Zoe and catch up with the rest of the team tonight on It Takes Two on BBC Two at 6:30 p.m.